Hello, my name is Cliff Wright, and I am the director of the CARES Learning Partnership located in Oakland, California. Our goal is to help people help people. We do this through the 5 pillars of our organization: community, agency, responsibility, education, and service. I wanted to take this moment to do a quick PSA about the current times we're in as it pertains to education due to the pandemic caused by COVID-19. So for most places, it's been at least 7 weeks by now, and family tensions are high. The interactions between parent and child are all over the place. Parents, you can't figure out why in the world you don't understand 3rd grade math anymore. And for children, those parents that you looked up to, that you rely on to take care of your every need, you're scratching your head trying to figure out why they can't even help you with 8th grade homework. Or maybe it's something completely different. Maybe it's something far worse. All we know is that this is chaos. So I have 3 tips. 3 tips. Because I know right now, many of us are feeling like a failure. But if you pause and think about it, we all really learn through failure. Education is no different, but we're not set up to view it that way. So here are 3 tips to help you get through. Number 1, breathe. No, really, breathe. You can do it with me. Just breathe. Now, I'm not talking about breathe and think of your happy place and leave all the chaos behind because you don't have to deal with it and you want to feel better about yourself. No, I'm saying breathe and relax and pause and clear your mind and focus. Let's take a moment to think about the educational paradigms that we operate in that could be putting unneeded pressure on us. So, parents, let me ask you a question. What type of student do you think your child was from August until February before all this happens? Do you vision them as on time for every class, backpack over both shoulders, coming into class, sitting straight up, notepad out, ready to take those notes and get all the viable information, making sure that through all tests, they are giving complete and thought through answers? Is that the thoughts that you had about your child? Did you think that when they're sitting down, their friend leads over to pass them a note or they get a text, that they put a do not disturb and put their phone in airplane mode so that they're not distracted during the day because learning is happening, and they're going to make sure they focus all of their attention right here and now to get through everything? Is that the vision you have of your child? Some might, and congratulations to you. Me, that's not the vision I have of me as a student, nor of my children currently as students. So we can kind of relax and understand that things weren't perfect before all the chaos. So the fact that things aren't perfect now is still something that we can deal with. Now, I've seen all the posts coming through on how now is the time. We should recognize the value of teachers, and I bet now that you're homeschooling, you see the value and they're underappreciated. And look, let me just say this. If it took a pandemic for you to recognize how valuable a teacher is, Lord help you. So the question is, what do you think your student was doing before now? That's the question I pose. Pause, think about that, and now relax and know that it wasn't perfect before, and it's not perfect now, and everything's still going to be fine. And it's going to be fine because of point number 2. It's May. It's May, regardless of what type of student you may have. If you think that you have the student that was on track, they were moving along, they were doing just fine, they're driven, they're pushing, and now this has thrown them completely off track, and you want to make sure they get all the necessary learning so that they don't lose ground or fall behind. Who are they falling behind? Everybody's out of school. There's nobody moving forward to get through. Some schools aren't even grading anymore. It's just pass and fail. That's a whole nother discussion that we can get to later. But the point is that 3 months, it's May. You got a few weeks left. Most of this happened during spring break, and it's okay, children. If you're watching this now, you can let your parents know. You check out after spring break academically. You're really just focused on making sure the assessments and the tests, and you don't get in trouble. If you're a senior, you checked out way back by Thanksgiving, right? You're focused on the next steps of college and where you're going to go and what you're going to do. So I get it. But look, it's May. If you and your family decided to go to a park, you can find one that's open because now they're starting to reopen things, and decided to take a nap from now until the end of the school year, your child is still going to be okay. Do you really think your third grader that has missed 2 months of school somehow has lost the vital information that they need that's going to derail their whole professional career? These are these paradigms that we function in that just aren't based in any type of practical reality. And on a side note, it's these paradigms, and we take that pressure and push that pressure down onto our children. Suicide rates are up, stress is up, lack of sleep is up, all these things are up, and these things are happening more and more because of this pressure to move, to get, we have to succeed, we have to move forward. Don't get me wrong. I'm not saying success is something we shouldn't be striving for. I'm saying it happens a lot easier than we think. This desire to get ahead and to move forward is not doing us any benefit right now. Right now, we just need to recognize and understand that this happened in February. It's now May. School year's almost over. Relax. Breathe. And know that it's May. Now, don't get me wrong. I'm not saying we throw the towel in and that learning doesn't matter and they don't have to do anything. Yes, they need to focus on the work that they're being assigned, but I would submit to you that it's more important that they're doing work than the work that they're doing itself. What do I mean? I mean that good teachers, any teacher that's worth anything, understands the importance of classroom management and establishing structure and protocols for their classroom, because that consistency and that structure allows for them to deliver and put into practice the content and the necessary learning that needs to happen into that environment. But it's not the content where many homes are struggling is they're trying to rely on the school protocol to govern the home environment. It's not going to work. You're going to need to establish a new structure. And you can't build that structure simply based on the content that needs to be covered. Because if you do that, you're not a teacher. So establishing a school protocol at home is going to create more chaos. Hopefully that makes some sense. And another thing, before we move on to our last tip, I know some of you are saying, yeah, but you don't understand my child. My child is really... Okay, look, let's try this. Ask your child, regardless of what grade they're in, ask them to tell you something. Right now, go ahead. Ask them to tell you something that they learned from a previous year. You don't have to go way back, just last year. So if they're in 11th grade, ask your junior what they learned. Give you one thing that they learned in their 10th grade year. If they're a 4th grader, ask them, what do you remember learning? Give me something of value that you learned in their 3rd grade year. I'll wait. Were you amazed? Were you surprised? Did they have that substantial thing, that building block that they needed to get to 4th grade? Or the next grade that they were at? No? Yeah, see, the reality is, at the next year, or at the beginning of the school year, teachers spend a lot of time reviewing, right? Students don't come back from a summer remembering everything. This break right now hasn't even been the same length as a summer break. And they take summer breaks all the time, and they recover from it. And I know you're thinking, yeah, but this is a break right before summer break. Now what are we? Because getting them back into, it's not that deep. But I'm interested. Did they give you something significant? Were you surprised that they weren't able to come up with anything of significance? And if you're wondering, well, then what's the purpose if they're not remembering anything anyways? Don't be mad at the teacher. It's not the teacher's fault. It's the system. We focus so much on content and AP classes and more. We have to pile in the information, and we tell ourselves that because they're going through the information and because they're testing on the information, that they're learning the information. No, what they're doing is following instructions and learning how to pass tests. And after they pass the test, they look to the next thing to prepare for so that they can pass that, so they can get through school. That's just how it is. Now, I know I'm broad stroking, and I know every school isn't like this, and you might be saying, well, no, my kid goes to a very good school, and they really... Okay, great, good for you. But that's not the reality for everyone. And again, it has nothing to do with the teacher. The teachers know how to teach. They know what should be taught, and they know how to deliver that information to each individual student. The problem is they have these standardized tests, and they have these requirements by the district, by their governing body, that have to be quantified. And so, regardless of what they know they should do, it still comes back to making sure that the student is prepared to move to the next level. And we like to tell ourselves that that's a wholesome approach. And the teachers tell themselves that, and everybody tells themselves that. But if we're honest, we know that there are a lot of useful things that get left out so that the traditional things that can be quantified are put in so that they can pass. So that's what people are worried about. And I'm just telling you, you don't have to worry about that right now. It'll get done. It'll get done. How? Why? What? Don't worry about it. Talking about standardized testing, all that, that's another video. I want to stay focused. So let's move on. Tip number 3. Learning always happens. You know the most valuable way to learn something? Failure. But in school, we're taught, don't ever fail. Every time you do something wrong, we mark that with a red ink, or if we're innovative, we use purple. It doesn't matter. We're in this paradigm that says we have to figure everything out, test on it in a way that is conducive to our learning style so that we know that we know it. And if you mess up, do it again. Oh, and by the way, take your time so that you don't mess up. Learning always happens. Are you listening? Learning always happens. Somehow we think that learning happens in the classroom, and that's the only place. That if they don't get to that classroom, then that learning is subpar. Their brain has turned off. Now, I get it. I'm telling you that their brain hasn't turned off. And you might be saying, well, you don't know my kid. I'm pretty certain their brain has gotten turned off. The learning doesn't stop simply because your child doesn't have the same access to their teacher and you're not that good at math. The reality is, students learn with or without a teacher in every classroom. You don't need the teacher to teach the content in the books. What did he say? Yes, if you give students, a group of students, and set them down in a classroom with books and tell them that by the end of the week, we need you to understand what's in these chapters, they can figure that out on their own. They don't need a teacher for that. Now, I'm not saying we don't need teachers, but that's not what brings value from a teacher. It's not about the content. It's not about the learning. They can learn the content. What teachers do is they teach them how to apply the content, and they do that through relationships. See, the value of the teacher is twofold. Number one, it's relationship. Great teachers know that by building a relationship, they are able to pull forth the effort from your child necessary so that they can get the learning that they need to move forward. Number two, they then put the learning in context and give them an opportunity to apply that knowledge. And if you're not seeing that in your child, the fact that they're home isn't going to make that any worse. That needs to happen whether you're a teacher or whether you're a parent. That's how learning happens for all of us. We learn through failure. And if you want to have your child prepared for the future, you want them to know how to apply the knowledge that they have. These two things is what gives a teacher so much value. And I share that with you because I want to bring you hope. Those two things have nothing to do with credentials. Yes, the teachers have the credentials they need to teach. Those credentials are just so that they can apply the skills that they have, which is building relationships and using those relationships to help students become better and apply the knowledge that they're going to teach them. But you can use those two things at home. You have relationship, you can provide the structure, and there are all kinds of ways that you can apply the learning. Right now, we just need the brain to be working. What your child needs right now more than anything is presence and security, to feel safe so that they don't feel like they're falling behind. And by the way, who are they falling behind from? Everybody's at home, right? So you need a structure. You need to focus on it. And that structure needs to include you, your work, and your child. Give them time to work. Give them time to not work. You structure time to work. You structure time when you're not working with them. This is what I've learned as an educator. I've been in this for over 15 years. And what I can tell you is it's not that easy to get passionate about all subjects. So we have our core subjects in school, and there's a lot of electives and all that type of stuff. And I can't sit here and tell you that it's easy to be passionate about all of them. Maybe a couple, if that. But here's what I know. Even though you can't get passionate about all subjects, you can find all subjects in anyone's passion. If your child wants to be an architect, if they want to be an actor, if their goal is to go viral as a YouTube sensation or a YouTube personality, you can still teach them science and physics and statistics, which, by the way, is much more applicable than physics. But that's another video. The history of the craft that they're in, the science behind it, the finances behind it, how to create a business from it. These are skills that right now, in this chaotic time, you can draw synergy. And your child would have the ability to even thrive in this chaotic time if we just took the moment to create a structure and find out from them what their passions are. Use this time before this new norm happens, before next August. This year is a wrap. And I know nobody wants to say that, and that's not to say it's a bad thing. This year is over. But that doesn't mean there's no work to do. That doesn't mean you don't turn in your homework. That doesn't mean you don't focus on learning. But I just want to remind you to keep it in the right priority. It is far more important right now that you create a structure so that the brain is engaged and do it in something that they're passionate about so that they can translate that to becoming passionate about learning. Most kids today look at school as something they get through until they can get on to their life. We can use this opportunity to break that paradigm and say, no, I want to do things that are tied to my passion. And even though I'm not going to be passionate about everything that is assigned to me, those things that are assigned to me, if I take those and learn about them, it will help me in my passion later on, whatever that is. You have an opportunity to teach your child that at this juncture. And I hope you use this time to do that. You just need to exercise the brain. So in this time of uncertainty and not knowing if you can get access to the proper help and not being able to connect the way you thought you could and slow internet and whatever obstacles you find yourself in, just relax. It's okay. The other thing is many places aren't even taking grades anymore. It's just pass or fail. So what does that tell you about the whole thing? But that's another video. Right now, I just want to remind you to relax, right? Your child is going to learn. You're both going to be okay. Everything's going to work out. Take this time to let your child know you care about them. Let them know what you do. Share with them what you do. What is it that you're relying on to get your job done well? Even if it is now you find yourself looking for work, involve them in the process. Learning happens all the time, and that's what we have to get them refocused on. So provide that structure. Be present with your children in this moment and know that everything's going to be all right. In the end, it's the subtle changes we make. It's the little things that really impact us and prepare us for the future. I hope this was helpful. For more information on our organization, or if you need help with homeschooling, tutoring, or assistance in how to tie and apply some of the things that you're being asked, or maybe you need self-care, you yourself needs help just on how to deal with the current situation, please check the description below, and I hope you like this video and share it with every parent you know. Thanks for watching.